So, I'm sure you guys have all been in the same situation as me where you signed a player in Football Manager that looks like they should be an absolute world beater, then you get them into the in-game engine and it just doesn't work out for some reason. Well, today I'm going to be showing you the opposite of that. We're going to be looking at a team of some of the most overpowered players in Football Manager that perform really well in Match Engine. Hopefully, for one, this is fun. Two, you find some players that you can sign in the future. And three, we might find a common link between all of them in terms of what makes a player effective in the Match Engine. Hi everybody, Jake here, welcome to the video, and as I mentioned, today we're going to be looking at some of the most overpowered players in Football Manager, and we're going to be looking at the thing that links them all together, so do stick around in the video as we reveal the reason why, at least in my opinion, and I think probably scientifically, in Football Manager terms, these players are playing at such a high level compared to other players who have similar attributes. Before we get into this video though and start revealing the players, I'd like to ask you guys if you could show your support, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and the thing I really want you to do is comment down below which players you found are overpowered in Football Manager. That way we can have a big list, we can see, oh yeah, we forgot to include XYZ in this list, people will see them in the comments and we can have a big list of overpowered FM22 players. So without further ado, let's get into player number one as we start off with a goalkeeper. Okay, here we go. This is a player that I think everyone would have been expected when loading up this video. We've got the Croatian Dominik Livakovic. He plays for Dinamo Zagreb and has always been a great option in goal over the last couple of years in Football Manager because his price tag does not represent the quality of goalkeeper you're getting. You're paying £10 million for this player who has amazing attributes but always seems to perform out his skin. Again, I have mentioned it, but we will look at the key link between all these players towards the end of the video, so do stick around for that. But Livakovic, if anyone's ever used him, you will know he is just unreal in goal and is such a good signing. Most of the players in this list are going to come from my own personal experience. I had him in a Newcastle save and a Lille save over the last couple of years, and as soon as you buy him, we've never needed another goalkeeper. Years and years of quality come out of this man, and he is top draw defending that net. A left back that performs super well in the game engine, but I do not hear enough people talking about, is the 26-year-old Spaniard of Celta Vigo, and that is Javi Galen. He is a left back who is primarily focused on going forward, but is a great option in that position for around £15 million. I don't think there's many better players in that price point in that position. Just look at his attributes if you've never came across him. Physically, superb. Mentally, he's amazing, very well-rounded, and he has great work rate. He's got some very nice player traits that are going to help him on that left side of the pitch. He's a great crosser, a great dribbler, a great corner taker, and then you think, well, maybe he just can't defend. He can tackle, his marking is decent, but his tackling is very good, and he is all-round just an absolute superstar, to be honest. He's also got some of that magic sauce that we're going to talk about later that just makes him so good in the game engine. He's actually got more of it than most people do. So Javi Galen, if you haven't tried buying him yet, if you haven't used him, definitely give him a go because this year he is immense. Another player that performs super well in the in-game engine, far better than you would expect, is the 23-year-old Welsh centre-back of Bournemouth in the Championship, and that is Chris Mepham. He starts the game wanted by Leeds, and you can see why Premier League clubs would be after him with a valuation of anywhere under £10 million. He's got very nice physical attributes, tall, strong, and fairly quick as well. Mentally, really nicely built, and then technically, not really a flaw in him when it comes to that defensive side of the game. You might look at his attributes, compare him to other centre-backs and think, well, he's not that crazy. Well, Chris Mepham, if you've used him, you know in the game, he is just unbelievably good at centre-back. And he plays for Bournemouth here. He could easily play for a top 4, top 6 club at full growth. I'm not saying his star rating will accurately represent just how good he is, but in terms of how well he performs in the in-game engine, there's not many better than good old Chris. Another centre-back that does unbelievably well in the in-game engine is Ilya Zabrani. I think he is super overpowered this year, not just in terms of his attributes and how well he plays in-game, but also the fact that he's 18 and he only gets better and better than what you're seeing here. For me, if you've got enough money, he is possibly the first choice when it comes to that centre-back target shopping list that you might have. Young, plenty of experience already, not that high of a valuation for a player who's going to be around for 10, 15 years at a super high level. The right back space in this team goes to none other than Radele Baku. You might notice he's a bit older than what you might expect him to be. That is because we're a few years in the future here. I actually had an example to load up because he is a big part of our Wolfsburg save. Yes, he's grown in his attributes and they're not exactly what you're going to see when you start a save, but when you do start a save, he's a very well-rounded right back who can play pretty much any position on the pitch if you want him to, but that's not the reason he's here. Good with both feet and amazing attributes aren't the only thing that Rodele has got on his side. He, in-game, is just a monster, a beast. I have seen not many players ever perform the way that this guy does. You can see since we started our Wolfsburg save, which by the way, if you want to check it out, you can find it on my channel, linked in the description, any support over there, hitting the subscribe button, whatever it might be, will be very much appreciated as we make this slow push for 10,000 subscribers. But you can just see his performances have been another level. Both in terms of his average match ratings and the way he performs in the pitch, he is probably the best player in our team if we're talking about consistency over the last 5 years. And I'm saying he is a standout player in a team that looks like this. Moukoko, Sesko, Bellingham, Kessie, Nico, Gavardio, Lacroix, Nets, whoever it might be. I think if we talk about pure consistency and being one of the best performers on the pitch every single game, it's got to go to Rodele. He is winning Player of the Match awards for fun. He is awesome. He's one of my favourite players of FM22, if not my favourite, and that's why he's in this list. And now as we move on to midfield, we have another player who you can see a few years in the future here who has performed exceptionally well in Nico. Now I'll give you a clue to what the reveal is later about the link between all of these guys, but you might have noticed it between Baku and Nico because we have the coach report on the players. Maybe that's already giving you an idea. But yeah, Nico is just incredible in the game engine. He starts off at Barcelona, and since we bought him in, he has, for me, outplayed the likes of Kessie, Bellingham, and Tchouaméni, who we all have at the club. Nico, since I brought him into the first team, is just outperforming them on another level. In a position as well, in a role of deep line playmaker defence, which I don't think gets very high average match ratings usually, and it's very hard to find a player who can do it really well. Nico has changed my whole expectation of that position. He can defend, he can pass, he's great mentally, balanced in all areas, but it is his athleticism for me which really sets him apart. You don't expect a 6'2" defensive midfielder to be quicker than most of your team, stronger than most of your team, better in the air. Of course you expect the fitness side of things, but Nico is absolutely incredible and you can see why he's wanted. I was going to say by the big clubs, but it's Tottenham, so maybe not. But Nico has been so good for us. One of my best signings in this save, and if you haven't tried him already, he does start off as a Wonderkid kind of player, so he can have way more potential than what we've got him on here. So if you want to sign Nico, give him a go. I'm sure you will not regret it. Now, it has been a while since I visited this, but our Champions League winning Newcastle side from my first series of FM22 featured a player that I think everyone would have expected in this list. He is arguably not just one of the greatest players in FM22 attributes-wise and in-game, maybe one of the best players we've seen for a long time in Football Manager. I don't know what they've put in the water in James Ward-Prowse's attributes, but whoever made them clearly thinks Ward-Prowse is a good player. Now, I'm not arguing that in real life he is not. He is a great player, don't get me wrong. But his attributes, I don't think there's many better in the whole world of Football Manager. He's a 28-year-old that we signed from Southampton for how much? £34 million. He's now valued at around 120 million, but it's just the attributes that he starts with that makes him incredible. It's not usually you get a player with a 20 rating in anything, never mind it in 4 positions, but that's not all he can do. He's got amazing work rate, vision, teamwork, leadership, determination, a bunch of other amazing attributes. If you were to remove his face, put Zidane's face and change the name, you probably wouldn't even bat an eyelid. You'd think, yeah, that looks about right for Zidane. The fact that it's James Ward-Prowse of Southampton, he's a great player, but in Football Manager, he is the Lionel Messi of central midfielders. Another player that gets nowhere near the amount of credit that he should is Luis Alberto of Lazio. The Spaniard is really a player who has got better with age, and looking at his career path, you would have thought after leaving Liverpool here, that was his big opportunity to make it big. Well, now he is already a world-class midfielder at Lazio at the age of 28, and you can sign him for around £30 million. He's one of the most skillful players in the game with 20 flair, with some amazing mental attributes. Physicals aren't blowing anyone away, but his technicals combined with those mentals and the fact that his physicals aren't terrible make him such an amazing creative force in a position where it's hard to find a perfect player. Luis Alberto might just be one. Probably the cheapest player in this list is Cyril Despodov of Ludogorets out in Bulgaria. The Bulgarian international with 20 caps is incredible in Football Manager, like genuinely. He is on crack in the in-game engine. I don't know how better to describe it. His attributes are very nice. He's very well rounded, not lacking in too many areas, and cutting inside from the left wing or playing as a natural winger, creative force on the right side. He can do them both at an incredible level. You can't sign him in the first season because he has just joined Ludogorets, and you will have to wait a little while to be able to sign him. But for a player who had not crossed my radar until the end of FM21, the start of FM22, he is someone that has just absolutely blown me away. I did a rebuild with Saint Etienne on my own channel, and Despodov pretty much single-handedly made that Saint Etienne team better than the likes of Paris Saint-Germain. You really just have to see it to believe it. I know looking at him, he might not look incredible, but trust me, when he's on fire, this man is another level. Okay, going into the final two players on this list now, and we have the Brazilian striker Arthur Cabral, who has just joined Fiorentina, I believe, from FC Basel. He is their Vlahovic replacement, if you want to call it that. I almost picked Gabriel Barbosa for this position, but I figured Cabral is one that isn't talked about enough. The 23-year-old is physically well-rounded, and he is an expert finisher. Now, I'm not saying he's the best striker in terms of attributes, but in the game engine, he is very, very overpowered. But just to give you a bit of a background on why I've picked Cabral, I've only used him briefly. However, in one of my saves, I checked out the Premier League a couple years in, and Cabral was at Brighton and was actually the top goal scorer in the whole league with 35 goals, playing for an AI Brighton team. He was outperforming some of the biggest names in world football, and Mbappe and Haaland were both in the Premier League at the time, and neither of them were close to Cabral's numbers. He is just an amazing striker. He's very well suited to this year's match engine, and that is why I believe he has to make my list of overpowered players. Now, the final player in my list is one that I had to include here, and that is Karim Adeyemi. I'm sure you've all used him, but there's just something about this guy. He is very good and has potential to be one of the best players in your saves, but that's not the reason for me that he's overpowered, because looking at him, especially at the start of your saves, he doesn't have the attributes to be one of the world's best strikers, yet right at the start of a save, if you signed him, he could easily keep up with Haaland and Mbappe's, who have far higher attribute ratings than him. When I had Adeyemi at Wolfsburg, we did nothing special. We just had him as an advanced forward in a front two. We signed him for around £20 million in our second season, and after about 50-60 appearances, sold him on for £210 million to Manchester City. That's how good this guy was. You can see the numbers that he was hitting, but I think the reason for me Adeyemi does so well in this match engine is pace is very nicely rewarded as an advanced forward. Add into that, he had good off the ball movement and he had decent finishing when we originally had him. He is now exceptional. He is just incredible in the in-game engine. Anyone that's used him will absolutely love him, I'm sure. So now that we've looked at all 11 players in this list, I'll reveal the reason that I think, and I think this is actually factually correct as well, as to why these players do so well in the in-game engine, even without a well-beaten tactic or anything crazy. Now I'm going to go back to Baku as the reason why I think these players do so well, and to do so I need to go to his coach report. In his coach report we're going to see he has a big green symbol saying consistent performer and he relishes big matches. Now this is down to a hidden attribute that we can't see without the editor, which is consistency, and this one is important matches. If a player has a low value in these attributes, you'll see it in the cons section. If they have a middle value for these attributes, they won't be a pro or a con, you won't see it on the report. However, when you get a very good player in the game engine, I bet you if you check his pros, he's got consistent performer of some level in there. The darker the green, the better the number he has on the scale of 1 to 20. But these two together make a player so good. If you don't know about consistency, I've done videos on it before. On its surface, consistency means the regularity that a player is going to play to the attributes that you can see here. So with a high consistency rating, Radele Baku will be playing as the attributes that we can see on screen the majority of the time. However, a player who doesn't have a high consistency rating or even a low consistency rating will not, on most occasions, be performing to the attributes that you can see on screen, and therefore it's less that Baku is overperforming and it's more that everyone else is underperforming their visible attributes in the match engine. Now it should be noted, if you've got a player of a younger age, this can vary when you start a save. Sometimes it will be high, sometimes it will be low, but it tends to be with these players at like 23, 24, 25, their consistency ratings will be hard set and not variable, so you know what you're going to get with these players. Now just to prove the theory, we go over to Nico, who is another player that I've said is completely outperforming players that realistically should be better than him: Tchouaméni, Kessie, Jude Bellingham. Now if we go to Nico's coach report, what can we see? Consistent performer and relishes big matches are there in the coach report. Karim Adeyemi is of course amazing attributes wise, but what can we also see in the coach report? Consistent performer and relishes big matches. Now if we do look at it, that's a less dark green, so it means his consistency is not as high as the others that we've looked at. Now for our final test, we'll come out of the Wolfsburg save, which again you can find linked in the description, and back to the save I've loaded up here, which has the editor available, and we can see Javi Galen, who we said His attributes are amazing, but he plays at an incredible level in the in-game engine. Wouldn't you know it, if we go to his hidden attributes using the editor, we can see, where is it? Consistency is a rating of 16, and important matches a rating of 16 out of 20. Now this just proves to me how key consistency is. Don't get me wrong though, if a player has crap attributes and is then consistent, it's not really going to help him, but for a player who has decent or good attributes and you add in that consistency factor, it takes them to another level in the in-game engine. I've actually done a check now, and everyone that I've shown in this list has a consistency rating of 12, 13 or higher. Most players were looking at 14, 15 consistency, and for me that proves enough as to why these players are so important. So always keep an eye on that in the coach report. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video anyway and enjoyed the list. If you have, smash the like button. Thank you guys for watching. I've been Jake for FM Scout, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.